This is Alex Smith, member of LANS, presenting this edition of our weekly updates. For more updates and party content, visit jalans.org. That is jalands.org. You can also follow us on social media. Our Twitter handle is at @lands_JA. LANDS_JA. This week, we will be covering discussion about emails sent to Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, the lifting of our United Kingdom travel ban, a quick segue to the COVID-19 epidemic in India, a dental workers' dispute throughout the week, and conclude with environmental woes at Hanover. Let's start with those emails. On Saturday, the 24th of April, Loop News reported on Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith's accusations in chamber the previous Friday against an unnamed PNP senator. The opposition senator is accused of sending harassing emails to her. She spoke in the context of Senate debate on the government's response to accusations against George Wright. The senator brought the matter to police, but did not press charges or go forward publicly at the time. For her, it was a struggle. She recognized the value of using her platform as a politician. Bringing attention to her own experience would inspire persons in a similar situation, women especially, to take similar action. However, in her words, politics and drama prevented her from doing so. 2 days later, The Observer published an article providing context to those emails. In a 2014 Senate meeting, then leader of opposition business, Senator Thomas Tavares Finson, attempted to bring to agenda both the emails and other comments made by his government counterpart, A.J. Nicholson. Senator Nicholson was on record dismissing concerns about women working at night under flexi work hours as, quote, flexi rape. Former Senate President Floyd Morris did not allow debate regarding emailed threats, focusing on Nicholson instead. The Jamaica Constabulary Force confirmed that emails of that nature were reported to them in 2018, 3 years after the passing of the Cybercrimes Act. That same Monday, Loop followed up with coverage on the response of Senator Donna Scott Motley, opposition spokesperson on gender affairs. Speaking for the opposition, Senator Scott Motley called for Senator Johnson-Smith to produce the emails so that the accusation could be pursued and for public confidence. Scott Motley echoed the sentiments of Senator Lambert Brown, who insisted that Johnson-Smith show the evidence to the public. In an interview with Nationwide News, opposition Senator Gabriella Morris also called for her to publicly name her harasser, yet Senator Morris also took the time to acknowledge that Johnson-Smith had doubts that most survivors do, and that this indicates a need for change in the way sexual violence is dealt with. On the 28th, Nationwide also interviewed Dr. Karen Carpenter, head of the University of the West Indies Mona Institute for Gender and Development Studies, and criminal attorney Shauna Gay Mitchell. Dr. Carpenter stressed that every case is unique and involves a cost-benefit analysis. Mitchell added that involving authorities may result in re-victimization. For both, what the survivor needs comes first. The harassment of Senator Johnson-Smith isn't the only case of gender-based violence, but surely the same standard and a right to privacy apply. At any rate, a party-wide demand to publicly revisit a trauma cannot be encouraging. It must be made emphatic. This isn't partisan. This member of LANS unflinchingly believes Senator Johnson-Smith. Anyone can be victimized regardless of party colors, and it's those outside the political class who have the fewest resources to speak out. LANS remembers what happens when certain people speak out on this. Like the case of the Tambourine Army in 2017, public shaming and retaliation by the very authorities meant to investigate are both possible. All we can hope for is that the partisan argument stops, women's safety and the right to privacy, Senator Johnson-Smith's included, are respected, and that due care is rendered. Moving on to the resumption of flights. Loop News published a report on the government's lifting of the travel ban for United Kingdom arrivals. Starting the 1st of May, All passengers from the UK with a negative COVID-19 test result and who follow local protocols will be permitted to travel to Jamaica. On the one hand, the coming summer tourism season approaches. On the other hand, nearly half the UK population has received 2 doses of vaccinations. For Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett, these 2 facts make now an opportune time to ease restrictions. However, from a nationwide news report the following day, the minister's senior communication advisor and senior strategist, Delano Seavright, predicted that most travelers between the 2 countries will be those seeking repatriation, not tourists. From London, Jamaica's High Commissioner to the UK, George Ramakan, stressed the importance of resumed travel for those waiting to come home. While the situation improves overall in the United Kingdom, an article from Loop warns that Jamaica is possibly on the heels of yet another wave. This time, we'd have a higher positivity rate, that is, more positive results per test, than at the start of any prior wave. We'd stand to sustain up to 10,700 new cases per week at peak, and as many as 180 deaths could occur during the peak week. As things stand, Jamaica's situation is not optimistic, in part due to the presence of the British strain and other mutations of SARS-CoV-2. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa-McKenzie predicted that if it becomes as dire as described, the country's healthcare system would most definitely be overwhelmed. Unfortunately, as the Pan American Health Organization reports, this is already the case in several Latin American and Caribbean states. Vaccination opened up generally for persons incarcerated, 60 and older, or in other designated categories in the last week of April. Second doses start the first week in May. However, neither guarantees good prospects for the summer. Vaccination alone does not stop transmission of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It only prevents those who are immunized from developing the COVID-19 disease. This holds true even if Mr. Seavright is correct about arrivals mostly being repatriations. Yet, both MBJ Airports, operators of Sangster International, and the private sector organization of Jamaica predicted at the end of 2020 that the tourism industry will recover by the end of 2021. This requires tourists to arrive and have time to spend at rates similar to 2019 levels. Even if all tourists are vaccinated, without proper protections for tourism workers and the wider community surrounding hotels, a new, worse wave is realistic. As of the 30th of April, the number of new daily cases stands at 164 for a total of 45,578 cases. Most of these new cases come from St. Catherine, the Kingston and St. Andrew corporate area, and St. James. 8 additional deaths due to COVID-19 have been counted for a total of 778. 113 coincidental deaths have been counted since March 2020, and 131 are still under investigation. 114 daily recoveries were reported, leaving 164 active cases. Of course, Jamaica is not the only country in the global south confronting this disease, and the Caribbean not the only region. As the Associated Press reports, in India, this week was its worst yet, with no clear end in sight. Daily cases rose to record-breaking numbers, including a count of over 401,000 new cases for the 30th of April alone. Meanwhile, oxygen supplies have been low, and hospitals and crematoriums alike were completely overwhelmed. This wave started around March 2021, after a low of just 11,000 daily cases, and praises to the 1.4 billion Indians for keeping their own curve relatively flat throughout 2020. While the country languished, the Times of India reported on the 24th of April that the United States rejected a plea for vaccines, putting U.S. lives first. German Chancellor Angela Merkel casted doubt on aid for pharma development on the basis of perceived lack of reciprocity in the form of exports to Europe. She's not alone. On the 29th, the European Parliament rejected an intellectual property waiver, which would free up recipes to be produced wherever they can be, thereby making the immunization process go faster. The Africa Centers for Disease Control gave its own warning. Blocking exports now will cause harm to India's own vaccination program later in the form of more resilient variants of the COVID-19 virus. Bill Gates, who funded development of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, cited intellectual property and safety concerns as reasons against sharing vaccine formulas around the world. Despite India sending millions of vials around the world in reality, including free doses to Jamaica, for Gates, hypothetically moving vaccine production to the country would be novel. Eventually, the United States relented and started providing the Serum Institute of India needed materials to produce the AstraZeneca vaccine as of the 27th. But it's arguably too late. Looking to naysayers, you can conclude that India might be on the path to vaccine nationalism, yet vaccine imperialism is also alive, well, and the same as any kind of imperialism. It prioritizes rich and white life, selectively invests in countries under the guise of aid, and hoards resources at the expense of lives. In India's case, nearly 65,000 lives in this wave alone, 221,000 overall. Back home, on the 26th of April, over 100 dental assistants withdrew their services. They demanded a promised 4% increase in pay, uniform allowances, and a $300,000 Jamaican lump sum owed to them. The dispute came to a head after a year of negotiations with the Ministries of Health and Finance. The very next day, in a nationwide interview, the Union of Technical, Administrative, and Supervisory Personnel, UTASP, accused the Ministry of Health of listing the names of striking dental workers in order to punish them for using this tactic. By the 30th of April, the Gleaner reported the dispute ended with the most vital demands being met: the outstanding salary increase and lump sum will be paid in May. However, uniforms are still pending, and the alleged strike-breaking conduct of the Ministry of Health left UTASP weary and disheartened. To put the 4% increase in perspective, the inflation rate stood at 3.91% for the year 2019. Additionally, 2 years ago, the 30th of April 2019, the Jamaican dollar to US dollar exchange rate was $133.52 to 1. As of the 30th of April 2021, that same rate is $151.65 to 1, a 13.5% increase. Unfortunately, inflation and foreign exchange for imports have eaten away at any gains the promised salary would bring, and then some. But it's still encouraging to see organized labor achieve its immediate goals, especially given the recession COVID-19 has brought the whole world in. To end things, we'll take a look at goings-on in Hanover Parish. On Thursday, the 29th of April, the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, released drone footage of mangrove clearing for construction of the Princess Resorts at Green Island on Twitter. The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, published CL Environmental's Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, in January 2020. Based on the EIA, NEPA approved construction and endorsed the EIA's plan. CL Environmental planned for minimal mangrove damage, limited to the construction zone and eventual repair in future. Sediment control is expected, as well as measures for waste management and handling of materials during hotel operation. The EIA also calls for construction and other workers to avoid disturbance of sea turtle eggs or to engage in construction during the sea turtle nesting season, from May to October. The area is a habitat for 35 bird species, 8 endemic, 2 amphibian species, 4 lizard species, and 51 insect species. If completed to specification, the hotel would have a casino, beachworks, and 2,037 rooms, plus 14 sea rooms built over water along a boardwalk. Neither the EIA nor the subsequent public meeting satisfied the JET. From their March 2020 response, there are several areas of concern. The construction site is in a protected area and fish sanctuary and threatens over 4,000 hectares, 10,000 acres, of mangrove forest, 10,000 square meters of seagrass, and 165 corals. Being in a marine protected area, teeming with seagrass and near coral reefs and mangroves, it does not meet NEPA's own overwater structure planning guidelines. Common substances found in wastewater, including pharmaceuticals, microplastics, salts, metals, and pesticides, are not accounted for, and neither is likely damage to seagrass or coral reefs. Finally, NEPA does not properly address either the immediate impact of the overwater rooms, water supply for residents in the area, or the long-term impact of the whole operation. Do keep in mind, all the life on land and at sea is worth protecting, but these species, plant and animal alike, provide natural protection against erosion, flooding, and the impact of tropical storms. While CL Environmental purports Princess to be an eco-resort, it's unclear how it can coexist with the ecosystem at Green Island. Projects like this require more scrutiny and caution, especially because the solution is more costly than just planting trees. A habitat is a complex place with interconnections between the many species inhabiting it. Maintaining it requires deliberate care, not bulldozing. Signing out, this has been Alex Smith, member of LAMS, with your weekly update. Thanks for listening.